Hi, let's talk about the real collusion that rigs every election in the United States. All elections in the United States are rigged by the Rothschild family. The Rothschild family owns the Federal Reserve, the TV networks, the Bar Association, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the Libertarian Party, and the Green Party. In essence, the Rothschild family owns you, at least according to their lawyers. The lawyers have it all figured out with their grand deception, and you keep voting for people known as lawyers, either Democrats or Republicans. They're still enemies of humanity, which you should know by reading the Banker's Manual to Enslave Humanity, which was written by Meyer Rothschild back in 1773, along with some of his banker pals, where on page 1 it tells you the origin of law. It says this: "What has restrained the beasts of prey called men? What has served for their guidance hitherto? In the beginnings of the structure of society, they were subjected to brutal and blind force. Afterwards, to law, which is the same force, only disguised." So anytime you encounter a lawyer, what's being done to you is that brutal and blind force to restrain you, a beast of prey according to lawyers, is being administered against you to keep you enslaved to the bankers, the Rothschild family. Rothschild rigs every election through TV. The only people that you're allowed to see on TV are lying Democrats, lying Republicans, and lying lawyers. And you're told by TV to pick one of these lying enemies of we the people. 130 million people listen to TV and vote for one of those enemies. None of these enemies ever tell you about the highest law in the United States, the law that stands above the Constitution. That law says this: "Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." So anytime the government decides to sodomize you, if you don't consent to it, they can't do it. So when the government created the Federal Reserve in 1913 to rob everyone in the United States, if we don't consent to it, they can't allow the Federal Reserve to exist and continue that robbery and keep you working as slaves your entire lives because of the fraudulent counterfeit fiat currency that the Federal Reserve gives you to use. Do you understand that? You don't have to allow the Federal Reserve to exist just because some criminals in Congress put it into existence in 1913, signed by our criminal president, Woodrow Wilson. You can stop the Federal Reserve right now. The other thing it says in our highest law is this: "But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security." So the highest law in the United States requires you to remove our entire government from office, because our entire government has been committing a long train of abuses and usurpations against you ever since 1913, and maybe since 1871, and going back further, maybe since 1787, when lawyers played a role in writing the Constitution, which has a whole bunch of flaws in it, and is touted by our elected enemies as the supreme law of the United States, which it isn't. The Declaration of Independence is the highest law in the United States. That's what our government does not want you to learn. The Declaration of Independence stands above the Constitution. That's the law for we the people. We have the power, as the highest authority in this country, to fire the government right now. None of our elected enemies, named Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Green Party critters, or lawyers, are telling you this. That means all of them are controlled opposition. They oppose each other, and they oppose we the people, because they never tell you the truth about the Federal Reserve. They never tell you the truth about the Bar Association being owned by the same criminals who own the Federal Reserve. They never tell you the TV is owned by these criminals, which took away your freedom of speech in 1938. No honest people have ever been allowed on TV. And you don't know that because all you've ever seen on there are liars, and you believe some of them. In fact, you believe most of them. That's what you need to know about our elections. Everything you see about our elections is a lie. No honest people are allowed to be seen. Can you figure that out? I'm an honest person. I'm telling you the truth about the real issues in our country. The Federal Reserve, the Bar Association, the TV networks, mercury in vaccines, fluoride in our water, and chemtrails. Those are the major issues. None of our politicians ever mention those issues, except once in a great while one of them will say, oh, well, maybe we should audit the Federal Reserve, which means let's keep it in existence to allow them to keep robbing everyone in the United States. And we'll put on a sham audit and fool people into thinking that we're doing something to control the Federal Reserve, which is pure bullshit. You have to stop believing anything that's uttered by a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green Party critter, or lawyer. You have to lead yourselves. Assert yourself as the owner of the United States, talk to each other, and fire all of our politicians. Now you know how elections are rigged. Everyone that you see is lying to you. Everyone. Donald Trump is the chief liar in the United States. He never talks about those issues that I just told you are the most important issues in our country. Thanks for watching.